As an artist, I think about why things are the way they are, much like physicists do, where physicists try to model the universe and give answers to why things operate the way that they do, or create a model of the universe that explains why we are this way. So as an artist, I think about these things as well, and I think about the complexity of the universe and the things that we know and the things we don't know. So, and I like that in the Renaissance that the artists were trying to describe their world and how they knew it as beautifully as possible. And that was really the beginning of science as we know it, where they were becoming really rational and you had one-point perspective, two-point perspective. So I like how they started to look at their world and look outside their world for answers. So I like Renaissance techniques and brought it into my own work. So what I do in my own work is I will first sand the surface and I put many coats of gesso down. In the case of a piece that has lights, I have to block lights, so I paint first with black gesso, then white gesso, and then once that surface is prepared, then I take the silver point and draw with it, making all these hatching lines. And I think of the hatching lines as marking time and the passage of time, like ticks on a clock. And then when I get that done, I grind up graphite and do a wash. I think of the wash as like the chaotic nature of life, that it creates this matrix of possibilities and sublimates all my marked, timed lines into a greater whole. And then from that, I heighten it with white paint to bring up the forms that I feel need to reemerge. This piece called Aurora. Aurora means first light or the dawn, so it's the beginning. Light for me represents life, so I equate light and life. And I was thinking of the lotus flower coming out of the mud and emerging, and then out of the lotus flower would be all these seeds. So these forms here I think of as like the seed pods, but they're also like eyes or openings into the world, because we manifest ourselves when we can see. And then there's a light that comes in the middle of each, which is like a star. So it's talking about different scales, the micro scale of being very fertile and abundant, and then the macro scale of our bodies, so being able to see and connect with each other, and then the cosmic scale of the stars. So it's about cycling through life. So the light comes up slowly, goes down slowly, just like the lotus blooms, and then it dies and re-submerges only to emerge again. So it's about cycling through life. Right, the idea of wellspring would be like the source of life, or the source of energy. And these flower forms that come out, I think of them as portals, like openings to other dimensions or other possibilities. So they look like flower forms, but you could think of them as mouths or eyes, or any kind of opening to another universe or another thought. So they're liminal spaces. They're the space between one thing and another thing. So they potentially could transport you. And in that piece, there's many. So it shows you that there's many possibilities you could choose to live in. So you could go in any of those portals to your own universe. The importance of light in my work, I think became because metaphorically, even depending on what wisdom tradition you read, like in the beginning it was dark and then came the light. Or in physics, it's the Big Bang. So before the Big Bang, there was no light. So I like this idea of light. Light speaks about a passage of time. It speaks about a certain kind of energy, and energy is information. And I think about how the whole universe is really chaotic, but then it organizes, because all these little bits of information, which are energy, start to do things that make sense to us, or we make sense of it. So I think light, for me, offers this an additional layer of information.